Skills here. I wear the hat so that it, blocks all this plumage coming out of my hair. All right, so today we are talking about Marvel / Disney and their whole shebang, like that whole problem that they have. I'm going to go over, there's a couple channels that have covered it that have some good insight. I'm just going to use their stills, though. I'm not really going to go into their videos that much, but if you want their videos, I'll show you where you can get them. But basically, the first order of business, let's talk Marvel, right? So, as we all know, about now, I think more than 10 years ago, right? I think way more than 10 years ago. Oh man, I'm old. Marvel had the brilliant idea to, or Disney had the brilliant idea to bring their Marvel properties to the forefront via movies. Now, obviously, there has already been superhero movies that have done very well in the Marvel sphere at this point, Blade being one of them, Spider-Man being obviously one of the top ones, and they were like, let's get in this game, So, just so some people that don't know the backstory, Marvel before ultimately was a comic book company initially, then became more into entertainment and cartoons and all this other stuff, and they were losing money, so they sold rights to certain characters to certain industries and stuff like that. So, for example, Sony owns Spider-Man. They still own Spider-Man. And they own Venom, which also, that's why they made the Venom movie, and that's why they continue to remake Spider-Man movies. So basically, Disney saw that they had other Marvel character properties that were very popular, like Iron Man, Captain America, the Avengers. So they're like, hey, why don't we do something with these? And the first, launch into that sphere was Iron Man. And it was very successful for what it was. And it basically single-handedly relaunched Robert Downey Jr.'s career. And it was very, very good, right? Iron Man 2, not so much. But Iron Man gave way to Captain America, which gave way to Thor, which gave way to the Avengers and a New Hulk. All these things, right? Black Widow, all these properties and all these characters and all these things, and they became all together. But there was one man who was behind all of this, right? And that was Kevin Feige, who before him, not a lot of people knew, producers' names. They weren't like known like that. Like there were some producers that were well known, some for not very good things, as we will come to know in the, when when the Me Too era happens. But mostly, for the most part, nobody really knew producers or even studios like that. They were like, whatever, like the main general population. So now, if you ask, or not now, but before, let's say during the heyday of the Marvel movies, if you ask them, the new Marvel movies out, the Avengers Age of Ultron, which wasn't my favorite Avengers, obviously, but let's just say Avengers Age of Ultron, people would be like, yeah, Marvel, yeah, like they know it was from Disney as the studio, but they would at least say Marvel, like, they know, that property, it's Marvel property, it's Disney, it's, they know that, which before, not a lot of people did know what studio made what film and stuff like that. They would, you would get the trailers from the studio that brought you this, and now this is this. But because of 10 years of just constant, somewhat greatness, when people went to go see the first Iron Man, and then they went to go see Captain America, and it's like from the studio that brought you Iron Man. You're like, oh, damn, and I love Captain America. And then, you saw the first Avengers movie, and it's like from the people that brought you Iron Man and Captain America comes Avengers. Damn, great. And then, all these things on and on and on. It even spread to Sony, because Sony having Spider-Man and the willingness to work with Disney in what they were doing because of the success, they were like, hell yeah, we'll lend you Spider-Man property, because that will then in turn bring us money on the Spider-Man films, standalone films that we want to do, and the other projects that we want that won't involve Spider-Man, but involve Spider-Man, like Venom, the new Craven movie, Morbius. Like those are all Spider-Man villains with one-off films that are pretty much not great, but the fact that they are gonna make a return because they were connected to the the MCU in a way, and Venom was somewhat successful in doing that, But as you can see, Venom 2 and Morbius and all the other things, besides the fact that they're not good movies on their own, they're not being pushed by the MCU anymore because the MCU itself is not doing good. Now, the problem with this is everyone decided, hey, superhero movies are doing well because look at Marvel, so let's all do superhero movies, right? So DC started their engine, and DC's engine never really went out. You know, the Arkham, not the Arkham, the Arkham games obviously were great, but the Christopher Nolan Batman's, you know, the Dark Knight, still one of the top superhero movies of all time, and it's those kinds of things where it was like, okay, not interconnected, it's standalone, its own thing, doesn't have any other characters, yada yada, that people looked at and were like, no, let's emulate what the MCU is doing. And they did it in a rushed and haphazard way that diluted the brand, the superhero brand. And so then other studios that didn't have superhero properties, you know, started doing superhero movies just because the superhero franchise was, you know, doing so well. And so we had superhero movies that had nothing to do with either property, and it was just there, you know, like we had a Hancock at some point and another movie. But either way, it's just a constant flow of these, you know, superhero stuff, besides the constant flow that Marvel's trying to put out. The only difference, or at least the only difference that used to happen, was that Marvel's content was really good, for the most part, compared to the others, right? So in both quality, and obviously in earnings, because the quality was there to bring enough people to it that it made money, right? So whereas if you look at like the DC, not to be, you know, a Marvel DC person, because I like both properties, but the DC, I feel, like I said, they haphazardly tried to put something together really fast that was not done well. It was not helmed well by whoever was the person in charge of helming it, and that's why that fell apart. And so that was another example of, oh, well, I'm going to go see the Superman Batman movie, and it was garbage, so I'm not going to go see the next, you know, like I'm not going to go see the like Aquaman, for example, did amazing, and it was a good movie, like quality movie, you know. I think it's okay, but apparently people like really love the Aquaman movie. And I think it's good. Like, it's out of those movies, it's one of the better ones. I really like Shazam, for example. Did not do good at the box office. But Shazam 2 did not like that much, and also didn't do good at the box office. Aquaman 2, probably not going to do good at the box office. But it's like basically all of these things, and the fatigue of people going to these movies. Like, this is the movie, like every month, if there was a superhero movie, that was the movie that, for example, I would want to go see. And it just became so bad, so fast, from all sides, that now it's like, do I really want to go see a superhero movie? Like the Marvels, for example, I would have been there Thursday night. I would have found a way for, you know, I would have taken the kids to my mom's house. I would have taken my girl out, and we would have gone to go see the Marvels just for the night, you know? And that's not like a priority anymore. You know, I wait for Disney Plus. And, I mean, no, I'm not going to wait for Disney Plus. I'm definitely going to go see the Marvels. But the point is that there's not this urgency anymore, right? One, because the spoilers, like, I feel it's the same thing with the DC movies. If you want to spoil it, go ahead, because there's no excitement in it anymore. There's no property that's coming that I'm excited to be like, yeah, I can't wait for this, and hopefully this property doesn't spoil what happens in the next property, because it like the post-credit scenes don't matter anymore. They've just became this whole random thing. Anyway, we're gonna talk to each point, but basically, John Campea of the John Campea Show here I have on YouTube. He laid down the Marvel mess, right? So the proper script development, so the stories of these properties are not being told very well. So the fact that they're developing these scripts and they're garbage, but then they're still making these movies is a problem, right? Proper pre-production, which is, again, he'll explain, well, if you want to go watch his video, he'll explain each point. But the VFX problems, like the head of the Ant-Man in Ant-Man Quantumania, the head of that guy that got shrunken down, he was supposed to be a different character. He was supposed to be MODOK. Anyway, it was funny, but it was done very bad. Like, that was very bad CGI or VFX, whatever. But obviously it's because they didn't have time. Like if you know about the basically the well, this goes into the pre-production, the proper pre-production. But basically, if you're gonna make a movie, right, you have to give it time and know the time that you're gonna take to make that movie. So if your movie is very VFX heavy, you gotta understand, okay, after all your shooting is done, after all this things is done, you still need time for the VFX team to make the VFX look good, so that by the time the movie comes out, everything's good and clean and fresh and all this other stuff. So what happened with Quantumania was that they were done filming and everything pretty much was done besides the VFX completely anyway. And it was done before the Marvels. So they were like, dump that out. Dump the Ant-Man one out and we'll do the Marvels later. And it's like, okay, but the VFX aren't ready. And it's like, yeah, we'll rush it. And then rushing it makes what happens, right? Because it's never the VFX artist's fault. It's never, the actor's fault. It's never even, I think, the writer's fault. Like if they have proper time to develop these things, they will deliver a good thing. They just need time, which is, unfortunately not how Hollywood works, because they're always on a crunch to make more money. Now, the disjointed MCU story flow, I don't think is that much of a problem. The biggest problem is that they basically have, because we started with a story flow that is interconnected, kind of trained us, and then also with the TV shows, kind of trained us to think that everything has to be interconnected. I don't think it should be interconnected. In fact, there's like this new show that's coming out soon, The Echo. It's like a Disney Plus show, Echo. It's from the world of, I guess, Daredevil. She's like a Daredevil villain, or maybe she worked with Daredevil. I'm not sure exactly about Echo. I don't know her background that well. But basically, that it takes place in like the Daredevil verse, right? That little thing. And Daredevil, as you know, is also a New York superhero that also takes place with Spider-Man. But he has his own comics, his own thing, and standalone stuff that has nothing to do with Spider-Man. Spider-Man doesn't even show up in his comic majority of the time. So, they're able to do these things that have nothing to do with each other, even in the movie aspect or in the show aspect. So I don't understand why they have to, force these things in the movies. But they have trained us to think that. So the story flow, for example, for Phase 4 was just horrendous. And they kind of did it to themselves. But we'll talk about that. Post-production stress timelines. That's, again, the VFX and the other stuff and all the things that come after you basically produced a movie. But again, John Campea goes over that stuff. And then obviously the end result is the mediocre product, right? Which is when the movie comes out, people go see it, reviewers, critics, and it's bad because obviously. So now let's talk about this is another YouTuber, Beyond the Trailer. She goes over specifically like the what people will say quote unquote woke has done to Marvel. She goes on to talk about basically how the Marvels recently that just came out very female focused, which is not bad, but there's not really like a big male lead besides I guess Samuel L. Jackson. So she talks about how Barbie and WandaVision and even the first Captain Marvel had other male leads, right? Which makes sense. And Wonder Woman, she also claimed, because they're very female centric or female led products that also featured the men because as she goes on to say in the video, men are the highest audience for superhero video game kind of things. And that's just a fact. That's not, like me being sexist or whatever. So basically, initially, Disney bought Marvel and all these, Star Wars and all these things because Disney was very, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but Disney Channel and all these other things were very rom-com, very Disney princess, like very female-centric and skewing very young female, which was still making Disney a lot of money. But they saw that all these other places, where they could make money. So they brought Marvel in, they brought Star Wars in to make more money towards the male sector, like with the male audience. But then slowly but surely it started pushing the male audience to the side to cater to female audiences and LGBT audiences and basically audiences of all, and Black and Latino and all the stuff. And she goes on to say how they basically try to make every product or every movie for everyone. And this also bleeds into Disney, which is what we'll talk about in a minute, okay? So now, there has been female characters that I feel like stand alone and could have their own audiences of both male and female, because I love Yelena, for example. Great character. She showed up in the Hawkeye show, which, again, the Hawkeye show should have been called Kate Bishop, because Kate Bishop features much more heavily than Hawkeye does, even though Hawkeye is in the show. But, yeah, the second season, if there's a second season of Hawkeye, is basically going to be just about Kate Bishop, because Hawkeye is going back to his family and doing his thing. So, doesn't make sense. They should have just called it Kate Bishop from the start. But it was like a wave to basically make people watch this, because even in the comic that is based off of, right, Hawkeye's training Kate Bishop, but eventually, throughout the comic, Hawkeye's still very much in the sphere of being a hero. He's still young, he's still technically in it, and stuff like that, and she's more of a sidekick character, even though the story is also about her. Whereas this, it feels more like he's kind of retiring, he's kind of trying to be with his family and kind of getting away from the superhero thing so she could take over and be the new Hawkeye. But again, her name is Kate Bishop. Even her superhero name is Kate Bishop, or I think, I'm not sure. But either way, point is, they should have just called the show Kate Bishop, in my opinion. And people would have gravitated to it. They want to gravitate to it. Same thing with Yelena, who I feel like deserves her own movie, not even just a show. Because she was great in... She was great in this show. She was great in the Black Widow movie. Like, she stole that movie, in my opinion. She was the best part of that movie. But basically, Yelena's a great female character that came from, again, not the heyday of Marvel, but like the new era of Marvel, right? And I think, again, works perfectly. She tracks great with both audiences, male and female. And she's a good character. Kate Bishop as well, I like. So Kate Bishop is also here. I feel she could also work, especially if they do them, like, make a duet of these two together in the next season, have their own show where they, do their own thing. That'd be great, Or if, Yelena's working for, the whatever lady, and she's doing her stuff or whatever, and then Kate Bishop's doing her stuff, and somehow their stories intertwine. That'd be great. That kind of stuff, again, female-led, female-centric, but good characters with good stories, because Yelena's background is very good, and her reasons for why she's doing what she's doing, the fact that her sister, is dead, Kate Bishop, her reasons and her things for doing it, all good things. All right. This is, again, the Barbie movie, which, again, because like I said, even now, there are female-centric, like, Barbie's like the biggest movie of the year, right? Made billions of dollars, and it's literally a female-led film, right? Yes, it features very heavily the male aspect of it, right, in Ryan Gosling. But for the most part, this is Margot Robbie's machine, right? This is her movie, and it's very well done. It can be it's basically a testament to show that there can be an audience for these kinds of things. They just have to be done well, right? Captain Marvel, the first one, as I said, another. I think it made $1 billion, right? It made a bunch of money. Very good film for the most part. I really like the nostalgia of the 90s and stuff like that. Captain Marvel's character doesn't really call to me, just because of, like, I think she's overpowered, if that makes sense. Even though they nerfed her the entire movie until the end, but then after that, I'm like, okay, well, what's she gonna do? Whatever. But like I said, I still want to see the Marvels for another female character that's in it that I love. But yeah, Captain Marvel was a $1 billion movie. So they did it once. They can probably do it again. And I'm not saying it was a $1 billion movie because, again, it had Jude Law or Samuel L. Jackson back in the heyday. But it's probably because Marvel was still in its heyday and people thought, okay, this is the most OP Marvel character because she's literally like one of the most powerful Marvel characters. So we're going to see what she can do. And I feel like she under-delivered in the movie, like I said, pretty much until the end. But it made for an okay movie, right? WandaVision, another one. Very female-led, very female-centric, I think very well received and very well done. And Wanda and Loki, but Wanda right now could have been a great standalone movie. Wanda could have had a movie and it would have sold a bunch of money because of the show was so well done. But the miscommunication between the studios, not between studios, between the, I guess, the heads of whoever runs the show and whoever did the Doctor Strange 2 movie, they clashed. The Wanda in that movie was a very different Wanda than this show. And this show came out first. So you're thinking, okay, she's good again. She's learned her lesson. She manipulated all these people, but now she's okay. And then in the movie, you're like, okay, she's evil? What the fuck? So it's complete disconnect. And this is within house, like within their own thing. So they should have these things if they're going to cohese, right? You're going to have these characters, then make a cohesive story that makes sense between shows and movies. If you're going to connect them. If you're not going to connect them, say they're not connected. But if you're going to use the same actress and the same character and say they're connected, we're expecting the storyline, the throughway, to be the same. And then I think famously one of the writers or creators of the Doctor Strange 2 movie said that they didn't watch the show or they didn't go off of the show or something like that. So it's like, then why make it? You understand? Like that's the thing that didn't make sense. Miss Marvel. So another female character that came about in this new era that I love, right? So this character reminds me not only of myself, but of my daughter and how our love for the Marvel brand and Marvel franchise and that whole thing. And she really, like Kamala Khan, exemplifies what it means to be a fangirl, right? Or a fanboy. And I really enjoy her character. Her family dynamics as well are very much like my own. Very protective of my kid, but also I want to be a part of her world and stuff like that. And she's like, oh no, you're an old man, whatever. So it's like, it called to me a lot, especially the show. But the show didn't do well. So for her to be included in the Miss Marvels, that's great, but nobody knows who she is. Nobody knows who her family is. And I feel like I haven't seen the Marvels, but I know that she features heavily in it. And in the trailers, I've seen her family and other stuff. So I assume, because, Captain Marvel doesn't really have a family, and Rambo is older now, so she also doesn't really have a family. So her whole situation, especially with her mom dying and stuff, and if you haven't seen the WandaVision show, you should watch the WandaVision show. But basically, these two characters that don't really have a family, all relying on the family of Kamala Khan to tell, like, whatever the story is from her perspective and her family's perspective as the normal people, that all is great, but nobody has watched the show to even know who these people are. So I don't know if they did the proper introductions to these characters in the movie, which I doubt that the show does, because the show has, you take a slower pace to introduce who she is, who her family is, who her friends are, that whole little world that she inhabits. And if nobody's seen it, then they watch the movie. It's like, okay, who's this? Why do we care? Or could we get past this to the action? That's basically why I think it might ding the movie. But again, I haven't seen the movie. But when I do, I'm hoping that, having watched the show will help me with this movie. But not a lot of people have watched the show. So that's why it's like frustrating that they made it such a big part of the movie. But, anyway, point is cohesion, cohesive things. The biggest shows that you have are probably Loki and WandaVision and maybe the Bucky and Captain America one. And again, like Captain America 4, who knows when that's coming out. And, or 3, it would be 4. Who knows when that's coming out. And then the same thing with the Loki. Like now in his show, I don't know, I don't want to spoil any of the ending of that, but basically he's taking a back seat, much like, Captain America did, let's say. Now, whether he can come back in or not, that's a different story. But the fact that you're basically benching this character that's, again, one of your titular characters, and he's doing so well on your platform, doesn't make sense to me how he doesn't have a movie or another franchise that he's, being a part of. And in his own franchise, he's kind of, becoming a thing that he won't be able to be in regular with the other guys. So that doesn't make sense. Anyway, I went to the Marvel timeline. I want to talk about the Marvel timeline a little bit, just so that I can show you guys where I feel it went off the rails. So I went on Disney Plus first to try and find it, but they changed this. So before it used to say, phase MCU phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, whatever it was. But now it just says MCU Infinity Saga, which is, when they find the Infinity Stones and all that stuff. And then MCU Multiverse Saga. And this is like when the Disney Plus comes out and has the WandaVision and the shows and Black Widow and all that other stuff. So all I'm saying with this is this initial phase 1, right, had bangers. Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2 was okay. Thor, the first one, banger. Captain America, the first one, banger. The first Avengers, banger. Iron Man 3, meh. Thor 2, meh. Captain America, Winter Soldier, the biggest banger. Guardians of the Galaxy, surprise banger. Avengers of Ultron, Ant-Man, banger. Civil War, banger. Doctor Strange, banger. Like, it was just bang after bang after bang after bang. Success. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, banger. Spider-Man Homecoming, banger. Thor Ragnarok, banger. Black Panther, biggest banger, and also surprise banger for them. Avengers Infinity War, banger. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, all of these great films back to back. Spider-Man Far From Home, back to back greatness. Greatness back to back. Then we had WandaVision, which was good. Falcon and Winter Soldier, meh. Loki, great. Black Widow, meh. What If, go back. Shang-Chi, banger. Eternals, garbage. Like this thing, and then again they did nothing with Shang-Chi, and he was the best part of that of that phase. Sorry, let me go to this phase over here because I think it shows a little bit better. So WandaVision, right? It was all right. Loki, again, banger. What If was pretty good. Hawkeye was okay. Miss Marvel, I loved, but some people didn't like. She-Hulk, there were certain aspects of She-Hulk that I like. For the most part, it's not a good show. Moon Knight, I actually really like Moon Knight. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, okay. Black Widow, meh. But we got introduced to Yelena, so great. Shang-Chi, banger. Eternals, did not like. I did not like Eternals, not even a little bit, I'm sorry. Spider-Man, No Way Home, all the Spider-Man movies, bangers. Doctor Strange, Madness, Multiverse of Madness, not a banger, right? And this is exactly when I can tell, well, here from Eternals, this is exactly when the banger stopped happening, right? So Shang-Chi, Black Widow, we were like, okay, one off. It's whatever. It was still enjoyable. It was still funny. It was to Yelena. We're good. Then Shang-Chi came out. We're like, Marvel still got it. Eternals, Marvel's doesn't got it. Spider-Man, great. Marvel still got it. All the Spider-Mans is in there. What? This is great. Multiverse of Madness. What is going on with Marvel? Okay, sometimes it's hit, sometimes it's miss. Then it became a miss. Then it became, well, for me it's still hit, but for the most part it was a miss as far as like how much it made and stuff like that. And then as you see, this was supposed to be the schedule of what is supposed to come out, but obviously Armor Wars never came out. The Marvels is just coming out now, so Ant-Man Quantumania was the next one, and guess what? A miss. Fantastic Four never coming out. Blade never coming out. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, that one was a hit, right? Ironheart never coming out. Secret Invasion, dud. So it's just miss after miss after miss after miss after miss, and it became too many. Even in Inhumans, Inhumans was another one over here. Inhumans was was a big miss. But that should have told them, don't do this, and then they just doubled down on the bad. And, it became something that was not good. Like, it just wasn't good. It wasn't good. All the things that they did were not good. The recent Loki season, very, very good, right? Right before that, Secret Invasion, not good. And then it comes out that these guys have the showrunners, the people that are supposed to helm the entire show. They don't have those. They don't have showrunners. They have different writers and directors and stuff like that. They don't have a showrunner. So it's like these shows just go off the rails, do whatever they want. They're not that long, the seasons, obviously. And it's not good quality control of the product that became what it was. Now, this specific branch of Disney, right, Marvel, was helmed by Kevin Feige very well initially, right? And probably would still be going well if he wasn't spread so thin with all these things. Now, the other problem was he did complain about not having enough creative control when it comes to all these projects. Because obviously, how can you when you're one person and there's like 20 projects coming out at the same time? So during the pandemic, they made a stupid decision to always have product, right? Always have superhero stuff coming out. And other companies were doing the same, right? Like DC and all this other stuff. So eventually, like I said, people fatigued. They didn't want superhero products or movies anymore. And then obviously they didn't want it if it's not good. And that's the problem. Marvel was always good, and then it wasn't. And so that's why you're seeing a decline in people going to go see superhero movies, especially for like DC, but also even for Marvel, is failing now because their products are not as good in quality as they used to be. Now, Kevin Feige, they put him back on top. He's talking about, reining it back in, rewriting scripts, looking at everything over, trying to make everything, again, a cohesive story and all the other things. And that's great. That's all well and dandy. The damage to the brand is already there, so the trust will come back if the quality comes back, obviously. At least that's what I think. But they have to remember this, and they have to think about, from now on, all of the products that they already created and how they can interwove them into a different story and put different characters in different places where it makes sense and where it might be fun for the audience. Because you already introduced Moon Knight, you introduced Kate Bishop and Shang-Chi. Use these characters. These characters are good. They have a good foundation. They have a good base. Go and use them and make better things, right? Also, the fact that Shang-Chi exists, right? The fact that Black Panther exists. These are iconic characters that that can help you with representation that already exist in your, let's say, repertoire, right? So you can use them over and over again for different things, or create brand new ones. I don't know if, MCU, like in the movies, they can do that, or they can do that well. But if you want, take a comic book character that already exists, but don't change or alter existing characters to make them the female versions of them, the black versions of them, the Latino version, because that's not real representation. That's just you using the backs of other characters to basically just show that you want to represent other characters. If that's the case, just make original characters or use original characters that already, represent these things, right? So for example, Hulkling is I think he's gay in the comics. Use Hulkling, right? They introduced him, I think, at the end of She-Hulk. I believe that was Hulkling. And you have Hulk that you've never made a movie for. Use that aspect if you want that to be involved and included in the stuff, right? Don't make a decision that doesn't make sense for a certain character or anything like that. When you have characters that already represent these things, you just have to use them. Anyway, I'm off of Marvel now. We're getting off Marvel. Talked about Marvel long enough and all of their issues and problems with the stuff. Let's talk Disney as a brand. So Disney has the other branch. I'm not going to talk about the theme parks or anything like that. I don't care about that stuff. But as far as entertainment-wise, for film and animation, the animation side of Disney, right, Disney and Pixar, have been flailing, right? We have Elementals, which I loved, but did not do good at the box office. Strange World, which I don't know if you guys heard of it, but it came out before Elementals, and it was an okay movie. But I saw it on Disney Plus because I didn't even hear about it in theaters. And I stay at the theaters. So that's why I'm surprised I didn't hear about this movie, right? And I'm looking at Disney Plus and I'm like, what is this? And it has big cast. It has a good cast. Jake Gyllenhaal. This guy who, I've seen him in other things. He's a comedian, I think. Dennis Quaid. Alan Tudyk. Great voice actor. Lucy Liu. Gabrielle Union. Like, there's big names attached to this movie. But I've never heard of it until I saw it on Disney Plus, and I'm like, wait, this is a new animation movie? We have Lightyear, which didn't do good. But again, I feel like that's more story-wise. It didn't do well, because I don't understand what they were thinking, Like, I liked it for the most part, but it wasn't Toy Story. And this is, yes, it's Lightyear. It's Buzz Lightyear, his own, like, story about what it's based off of. But I just thought they could do a lot better than that. So yeah, I don't know. Inside Out 2. So then we have the other problem that every franchise or every basically product they create, there's now a short or a second version of. Instead of constantly new original ideas, we go back and we're like, this is Cars 3 again. Oh God, Cars. Such a horrible franchise. So we have Inside Out 2 now. Or Inside Out, I liked Inside Out. But do we need an Inside Out 2? Okay, fine. I guess the character's grown up. We'll do Inside Out 2. Does there need to be a third one? Because Frozen, for example, okay, did great. Obviously, made a lot of money. So they, boom, pumped out another one, Frozen 2. Then they're like, okay, Frozen 2, nothing. Frozen 3 is now coming. And it's like, what? Moana, live action, which is another issue completely. All of the remakes of every movie that they have is now coming out live action. But Moana was literally very recently an animated movie that just came out as I was an adult. Like most of the remakes that are coming out, the live action remakes like Lion King and, Mulan and Aladdin, they were all movies when I was a kid. So I'm like, okay, cool. They're remaking them, live action, whatever. And not my cup of tea. I don't really like them. But whatever, do it. But Moana just came out like yesterday. And now, boom, live action Moana. Doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, there's a live action Moana coming. Live action Lilo and Stitch, which again, that's from my childhood. But still, I don't know why we need a live action Lilo and Stitch. I don't know why we need a live action any of these movies. But whatever, if you're going to make the other ones, might as well make a Lilo and Stitch one. But yeah, these are just like in my head, they're regression. They're going backwards. They're continuing to mine ideas out of their original IPs and making them unoriginal. Strange World was an original IP. It didn't do well. I feel like because of the marketing, and I don't even know what the movie's about. Like at least Elemental, right? I look at the poster, and I get it's like they're elements. It looks like they're they have like a love story. So there's like a love story thing, even though technically Elementals wasn't really about a love story. It's about familial. Generational familial things, that existential stuff like that. Not really about couples, but they were technically a couple and falling in love and stuff. But I'm saying that wasn't really that big of an aspect as I thought it was, as opposed to the aspect of like two different generations of people coming together to make a family. Strange World, no idea what this is. I get it is a strange world. They go to a strange world. They visit a strange world. I don't know. But it's animation. Like, you could tell a story with a picture. I don't understand why this is just, to me, it's very bland. It's not telling me what this movie is about, why I would want to watch this movie. I think there's like an LGBTQ character in it, which that's great. I wish that something like that would be told somehow, like him hugging another character or kissing another character that's, I don't know, same sex or whatever. Like something like that would be like, okay, so that's what this movie's about specifically or whatever. Or maybe it's not about that specifically. I don't really know. But, well, I know, but you know what I mean? Like, you don't really know from the poster. Anyway, yeah. So, for Disney animation, they have things like, so this is a React. It's on YouTube. You guys could go watch it. It's React for 12 darkest Disney movie scenes. I'm going to spoil that, so if you're, spoilers, if you want to watch this, video, go watch it. So, yeah, they had Mulan, right? The Burnout Village. There's this scene in Mulan where they have like a musical number, and then the next scene is them going to a village where the Khan has just burned down an entire village. And there was like a little girl that put like a little doll in the ground or something like that, and the doll is picked up and it's all full of ash, and the village is all burned down to the ground. That's very dark for a kid's movie, but it's in it, right? Because they're trying to tell the story of why this, impending doom that's coming to China is impending, right? Bambi, the death of Bambi's mother, still makes me cry to this day, and I saw that as a kid. So, Toy Story 3, the incinerator scene, Walrus and the Carpenter. I'm not sure what scene that is. I'm not sure what movie that is. I don't think I've seen that. The Dip from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Didn't know that was Disney, but Jesus Christ, that's intense. It's akin to, if you guys ever seen Dinner for Schmucks, when they had the because this is how gruesome. I don't even think I could show this on YouTube. But hold on. So there's this girl that she's a great actress, by the way. She thinks that she can communicate with, or basically her ability is that she can communicate with animals, right? So, and she's also like a medium or something. So she communicates with this dead lobster that they are being sold at dinner, right? So they're being not sold though; they're being given to at dinner, right? So it's dead. It's a dead animal. But she's a medium that also channels, animals.
I am receiving a message from the other side. I'm trapped. Where are they taking me?
She's talking to the lobster.
The water is boiled.
So imagine that sound, right? While an animated character is being dipped into like acid.
They might win.
So that's basically what that scene is like, the dip from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The Bing Bong's death scene in Inside Out. It was sad. I wouldn't say it was dark, but it was sad. Clayton's death, literally died by hanging, and you could see the shadow and everything, like very, very dark. The Return to Oz, I haven't really seen. Disney's Dumbo, yeah, the Dumbo, the baby mine, like, oh my god. I don't want to explain each scene, but yeah, Ratatouille even had a very dark scene with what looked like a bunch of rats in a window being hung, basically dead and stuff, and it's like nobody does that, but they did it for the movie, to show how dark the human race can be, right? Oh, the Fox and the Hound, the Bear Attack, just a lot of dark things, right, in Disney movies that used to sell these movies. Not saying that you can't, that what worked then will work now, but it's specific to that movie. Like these scenes, and they're burned in my brain forever because of either how dark it is or how telling it was to the story or how emotional it connected me to the character. And these are things that I feel should happen in these movies that are not happening, right? Like there's no scene like that I feel is in Elemental that I'm like, oh, whatever, like spoilers for Elemental, but there's a point where like the town is being flooded, and I don't care about the town. Let it be flooded. Like it didn't make me care about any of the characters in the town really, besides like the family, and that's really my main concern was the family. But the whole town being flooded and stuff, they're like literally it went through a whole town, flooding a whole town, and it's just like there's no emotional weight to it because we don't care about anybody else in the town besides these characters. And I don't know if that's, for runtime purposes or whatever, but, I just feel like things like that should hit more, and they don't, Yeah, I don't know. Animation, I feel like, is losing its luster. Not in the quality, because I feel like quality is there for the most part, in the writing, in the animation. They could do a little better. But also, I feel like they've trained their audience, like us, to watch their movies in Disney Plus and not go to like the theater to watch these things. So that's also another reason why they're not making money at the theaters, and people just wait for Disney Plus to watch it because it's convenient and it's an animated film. Who wouldn't want to go? Boom! I could just pull it up right now. Let's go and see if I can watch. Let's go home. And let me go, boom, Pixar. I can pull up a movie right now and just watch it, Like, this is Elementals, boom, let's go watch it. So that's why it's like, to me, just, I don't know, it doesn't hit as much as, like, when I went to go see A Bug's Life in theaters, Toy Story 2 in theaters. But I don't know, maybe that's just me. Anyway, this has been a rant. Sorry, it went a little bit longer than I thought I wanted it to. I'll try to edit some stuff out. Let me know how you guys feel about this. What you guys think. This has been another useless skill. See you guys next time.